Yo, what is up, guys? Your boy IzuKage here with a new what if, and this what if is what if Naruto was a Sarutobi. If you guys realize, I'm back to where I normally record, so no excess echoes. So hope you enjoy, and let's begin. So there's a few changes in this story. For Naruto to be a Sarutobi, well, he can't be the son of Kushina and Minato, obviously. Well, unless I change their clan, but I'll leave them be. So Naruto in this will have a twin brother, his name being Konohamaru. Yes, in this, Naruto and Konohamaru are born 3 years earlier than the canon Genins. And since Konohamaru's parents are never shown in the manga or animes, not even their name is said, the only information you get is that they were elite Anbu who served directly under Hiruzen's command. So with that, I'll make some original characters to fill their place. Their father being Haru, the eldest son of Hiruzen Sarutobi, and their mother Aiko, who is also a Sarutobi with no common relatives with her husband. So with that, let's begin the story. Naruto and Konohamaru had always been close. Well, makes sense seeing that they're twins, but these two were inseparable, always playing in the yard of their estate home, behind the Hokage mansion. And one day they were playing again, and by the way, this time they're 2 years old at this point. So Naruto, being the braver of the two twins, would make seemingly impossible jumps across the yard, bridging gaps, and Konohamaru just blindly followed him. They would eventually end up deep in the forest, lost in the dark, and Konohamaru would hold on to Naruto's arm for protection while they're trying to find their way back. Naruto pushes the branches of the trees away, heading towards a light in the distance, and after 10 minutes of walking and many breaks, they reached the source of the light, and it was a fire. They stepped towards it, and Konohamaru was the first to shout, "Uncle Asuma!" Asuma, who was just chilling, enjoying life, jumped up in shock seeing his two nephews. He smiled, hugging both the boys as they hugged his legs. Then he asked, "What are you two doing all the way out here?" Konohamaru said, "Brother got us lost." And Naruto, being a bit angry, was like, "No, I was playing with Konohamaru, then he got us lost." Then the two began going back and forth. "No you, no you, no you." And Asuma just quieted them down, getting them to just stop their bickering. And as he did, he heard a slight growl coming from behind him. Asuma turned around to see a pack of 5 wolves. Then the two weakest lunged towards the boys, but Asuma jumped in, saving them, while simultaneously using his wind chakra to surround his blade, cutting one of the wolves with it, causing a huge wound so it bled out. The other 4 began running as a group to attack. While this happened, Naruto and Konohamaru were scared out of their minds, both of them crying. Asuma just set them down and faced towards the pack, then says, "Fire style, burning ash," releasing a cloud of smoke, disorientating the wolves, then biting down his teeth, causing a massive explosion, killing them. Naruto and Konohamaru were even more scared of the blast, but out of the smoke came their uncle. They ran up crying, hugging onto him while he cheered them up, and 5 minutes later their parents showed up. Having seen the smoke and heard the massive explosion from Asuma's attack, they would come in search of Naruto because they were looking all this time. Haru takes Naruto while Aiko takes Konohamaru, and thanking Asuma, then headed towards their home, putting the two brothers who had already fallen asleep to bed. The next morning was a special day for these two. It was their birthday. The two would wake up looking at each other, knowing exactly what's about to happen. They jump out of bed and head towards their grandpa's room, ready to wake him up, ready to say, it's our birthday. But he wasn't there. Neither were their parents. They look outside, hearing some commotion, and see a giant red fox rampaging through the village. Then, in a yellow flash, Minato appeared in front of the two, grabbing them, then teleporting away to Hiruzen. So, you see, even though they didn't have a child, Kushina's seal was weakened for some reason that I'll explain later on, or maybe in the next part. So, Kushina had just got the Nine Tails restrained with her chakra chains. With no other choice, Hiruzen allowed Minato to go through with his plan. Minato then performed the Reaper Death Seal. He sealed half the Nine Tails within Konohamaru and the other half within Naruto, killing Minato in the process and Kushina due to the extraction. But before she dies, she whispers her last words to Hiruzen. Find Karin. What does she mean by this? Well, you'd have to stick around and find out. So, due to the sealing process, both Naruto and Konohamaru were knocked out, and Hiruzen, along with his Anbu, take them back to the house. So, a week goes by, and Naruto and Konohamaru had to stay inside all the time due to the village being reconstructed, and within the next months it was. In this, no one knows about what Minato did to save the village. No one knows of the sealing except Minato and except Hiruzen and the two Anbu that were next to him. So Danzo actually brainwashes one of these Anbu, releasing the information, but when he releases it to the public when Naruto and Konohamaru were 4 years old, no one really believed him. Like, even if they did, they would still have to respect the grandsons of the third Hokage. So many didn't believe him. Well, no one really believed him. So yeah, that happens, and due to the loss of power within the leaf, one of its strongest ninjas dying, and also Naruto and Konohamaru's parents did unfortunately die in the Nine Tails attack, protecting Hiruzen, so he owes them a great debt. So with their deaths, as long as with Minato and Kushina, there was a great loss of power in the village. So Hiruzen decided to start a new, not program, but decided to train the younger generation personally. Those younger generation being mainly Naruto and Konohamaru, really. So he trains them in the way of Ash release, but they really didn't get it due to the Nine Tails disrupting their chakra control. So Hiruzen had to take a step back. He had jumped into the deep end too quickly. How can you teach a kid just Ash release straight up without having known the fundamentals? And Hiruzen just kicks himself for this, because he knows that, you need to know, I think it's earth, wind, and fire to be able to control Ash. Or more so, use Ash. So he starts with the basics, chakra control training. And for a week, this is all Naruto and Konohamaru do. Seeing that it was the hardest thing for them, they would do it night and day, while eating, while playing, everything. And due to their parents passing, Naruto and Konohamaru weren't as playful as the other kids. And by this time, every genin from canon would have been born, but there would be one, while these two are four. So they wouldn't really be as playful as the other kids due to the loss of their parents, and took training very seriously. Especially Naruto, who had really bonded with his father. Just both of them really bonded, with Naruto bonding with his father more, and Konohamaru bonding with his mother. So they both took training very seriously. So all times of the day you would find them training. Even when they should be sleeping, they would be training. So this happens, and over a week they have decent control of their chakra. They can stay on walls for around 10 seconds before having to before falling off. So Hiruzen dedicates the next week to wall walking to increase their precision of chakra control. So another week goes by, and this time, since they've been exposed to it already, they learn really quickly. And while training, halfway into their training, they decide to incorporate water walking. So by the end of the week, they had wall walking and water walking down. So with this, Hiruzen decided to teach them basic jutsu that every genin should know. Well, any academy student should know. The transformation jutsu and clone jutsu. He teaches them this, and it takes them a month because it was a bit different than chakra control. You had to mold and weave the chakra in a way to perform the jutsu. So it takes them a month, but after a while they get used to it. Like the first 20 days were spent on the transformation, while the other 10 were spent on the clone jutsu, since they got a knack for it. And training regimens like this goes on for like another year, and during this time they've only been learning low rank jutsu, non-elemental jutsu. And when they reached 5, Hiruzen decided to start their elemental training. So Hiruzen, tests their affinity, but to his surprise, the chakra paper didn't react to either of them, meaning they had no affinity. And this surprised Hiruzen because it was similar to him. He didn't have an affinity to any element. He had to work hard for all the elements he had. So he just smiled, and Naruto and Konohamaru were a bit bummed out because they wanted to be strong, and this basically showed them that they would always stay weak. But Hiruzen explains that he didn't have an affinity. He worked hard to get all 5 chakra natures, and this lit a fire under the two. So they began training hard, and the first 5 months they started trying earth. So during the next year they would start doing earth element training, trying to unlock a certain affinity towards it. So by the end of the 5 months, they can perform simple D rank jutsu, like simple earth style D rank jutsu. Alright, I've been talking way too much about these two trainings, so let's get a bit interesting. Let's switch perspectives and let's have a flashback to Kushina. This is before she met Minato, before they had a relationship, and this was around about the same time that Naruto and Konohamaru were born. So at this time, Kushina just wasn't even in the village, and she was with another Uzumaki member, a male member, and they had a kid, her name being Karin. And after the birth, some I would say, Orochimaru, he's been looking for Uzumaki. He finds them and he takes Karin, and as he was about to take Kushina as well, their father stepped in, and during the process of protecting Kushina, providing time for her to escape, he dies in the process. But Kushina manages to escape and headed towards the nearest village, the Leaf Village. So that's what happened to Karin. And so that's why she said please look for Karin. So I'll get into that even more detail later on. So let's fast forward even past our present time to Naruto and Konohamaru being 10 years old, and by this time they have earth and fire style, not mastered, but they have really strong jutsu. Naruto having both of them having one B rank jutsu in both elements, and mainly C and D rank. So they are capable fighters, and they just started their wind affinity training. But during these times, Hiruzen has gotten really busy since he's spending a lot of time training them. Some paperwork has been backing up, so that's why he started with the two elements that he knew best and gave the two twins to Asuma to learn, wind style. So aside from those two training, let's go to the rest of the Konoha 12, and by this time they would be just starting the academy, being 8 years old. So they just getting into the academy, the Uchiha massacre is still happening, and certain stuff like that going up to canon. So the canon Konoha 12, we know as they become 12, meaning Naruto and Konohamaru would be 13. They one day in class, Hiruzen comes in. Everyone's excited because this is the third Hokage. He has some clout, and he comes in. Everyone starts going wild, like, oh my god, it's Lord Third. And Iruka, he bows, and Lord Third begins speaking, saying that they'll be having a sparring match, but not with each other, not against each other, but against his grandsons. And everyone knows about the Hokage's grandsons. They are well respected in the village, for the precise reason of being his grandson. So everyone is excited, and Sasuke is still in his emo stage. He's saying, ugh, those guys are probably weak anyways. So later that day, they have the sparring matches, and let's just skip to the juicy bit. Naruto versus Sasuke. Naruto versus Sasuke. Sasuke takes his fighting stance while Naruto does the same, and then Iruka begins the match. Hajime. The two fighters run towards each other, and Naruto brings out, no, he wouldn't allow blades. Okay, so Naruto blitzes Sasuke, running pretty fast, but he can still see him. And Naruto goes for a punch, but surprisingly Sasuke dodges, which catches Naruto's attention. Seems he had some training. So Naruto starts barraging Sasuke with punches so fast he can barely keep up, and Sasuke backflipped and then decided to use his trump card because he wanted to end this quickly. Fire style, fireball jutsu. Sasuke jumped in the air and shot out a fireball headed towards Naruto, but as if it was the speed of light, Naruto went through the hand signs in milliseconds and did water style rising wave, cancelling out the fireball and washing Sasuke away, hitting him against a wall. And as Sasuke was fading out of consciousness, he looked at Naruto and said, who is this kid? He's above my level. He's far too strong. And Sasuke passed out. And that's where I'm gonna leave this one off. Tell me what you guys think of this. You can tell me if you have any ideas of where the series should be headed, or what you like from the series. You can comment that below. And in the end, if you like it, you can like the video, and if you like my content in general, you can subscribe. And yeah, I'll see you guys in the next What If.